brave men run in my family. Sonic Youth fans might know that phrase. This amplifier, it was the quintessential amplifier for people like Thurston Moore from Sonic Youth. And this is an absolute beast of an amplifier. Thanks for joining me on another project. Today we're going to be diving into the Peavey Roadmaster of the Vintage Tube series from the late 70s to late 80s. The Peavey Roadmaster is a 160 watt all tube amplifier. Goes down to 4 ohms and is an absolute monster, as you can see. I love Peavey's design of these amps. It just looks absolutely aggressive, honestly. It looks like it's built like a tank, which it absolutely is. It definitely had that signature slant that the VTM series had. And then it had that, the Rhino Tolex on it too. But it's absolutely solid as a rock. I got this one from a buddy. Shout out to Johnny Hummus. He didn't know what was going on. It was from another local buddy. That person said that the amp kind of just didn't work, blew up, transformer or something like that, XYZ. You never know with these kind of amps until you really open it up. So, so far from my diagnosis, from what I can see, is it at least turns on. Everything lights up except for one preamp tube, so that very much could be the problem. The 2 LEDs here are busted. So get everything 100% clean. Probably gonna have to replace the fan, but I already have one of those. As long as it plugs in with a regular plug, we'll see what happens. I had it from a vintage Mesa that I had, a Mark III. But let's go ahead and flip it around and we'll take a look inside. All right, as you can see, it's missing the back grate, which is totally fine. It's a vintage amplifier, what are you gonna really do? But here we have beautiful 6 Peavey 6L6 Super 6 tubes. And then back there, don't know if you can see them behind that grate. You can kind of see them. There's some Super 7s, some Peavey 12AX7s back there. And then there are a couple, I think a tongue sole and something else. But either way, that 12AT7 back there, that one's not working. So we're gonna get that replaced. Typical dust, typical wear, but to be honest, not too bad for a vintage amplifier, probably from Rome, maybe 1986, just ballparking it. There's some corrosion. That's just gonna happen with a vintage amplifier, and then of course, we're gonna have to replace that power cable. But I mean, other than that, it looks pretty clean, pretty straightforward. We're gonna get into it and see what else we gotta do. So first thing is removing this board, just like Colleen did, and then basically doing the same exact thing she did as well. Replacing these screen resistors down the power tube board. Just kind of do a general cleanup, flipping this around and removing those capacitors as well. And then also just most likely cleaning up the potentiometers with some deoxit and checking some solder joints. Doing a general cleanup of the chassis, removing any cobwebs or anything like that, securing connections, and then seeing if we can get these LEDs to work or if we need to replace them, and just making sure everything is all cleaned up. So just in case, if anybody else has not seen another video of another amp tech, whenever you are discharging capacitors, there is a latent charge left over if you do not switch on the standby. For some reason, it captures some of the electricity and it will store itself in the capacitor still. And apparently 10 watts of, or 10 volts, I'm sorry, 10 volts of charge will be enough to harm you. So we made sure that we did that. So we're going to start removing everything here, and then we're also going to be removing the power cable as well. That's going to be kind of tricky, but once we get all of these snaps and connectors off and everything like that, it should be pretty easy. So let's go ahead and get into it. All right, so this is the power board for the Peavey Roadmaster, and as you can see, just like Colleen and a lot of other people's issue, it completely overloaded. So therefore, this resistor here, this 400 ohm 10 watt resistor, basically fried the board. You can see those diodes are completely destroyed too. I would assume that the disc cap is pretty much fried as well. I took out this fuse that was blown already, and then we're basically gonna just kind of pretty much rebuild the whole board. We're gonna do these capacitors, 100 microfarad, 350 volt. We're gonna do these resistors that are underneath the board as well. We're gonna definitely take those out and replace them. We're gonna do that resistor right there, the 400 ohm 10 watt. Those one end diodes right there. That is I believe it's a 103 disc cap. It is 0.01 microfarad, I believe, and then 1K watt resistance. These fuses as well, these 1.5 amp fuses, you can see that one's pretty much toast. Not blown, but pretty much overloaded probably. I can kind of see maybe, I don't know, can't really tell. Doesn't look blown there. Regardless, we're going to go ahead and replace them. I got them from Fazio Electronics. That was the only place that seemed to clearly have them that were listed and at an appropriate price. Their Little Fuse brand. Kind of see the LF a little bit, I think, if I can focus. You can kind of see the LF logo there. That's how I figured it out. So it's Little Fuse is the brand. But we're going to go ahead and replace these 1.5 amp fuses, these 10 microfarad 160 volt capacitors, and then any of these other large 1K resistors, this fuse as well. And then, yeah, we're going to go ahead and replace all that, clean up the board, just like Colleen did in Fazio Electronics. And that's pretty much it for the power board. Definitely has some, let's flip it over. Definitely has some, you see here, cracked or open solder points. Try to find some other ones. I mean, it's 80s technology. That's the back of the board, so we're definitely going to have to clean that up just a little bit. Might not need to remove the trace. It doesn't seem completely terrible. But either way, definitely have to clean that up. But yeah, some of this, some of these solder points, like right here, I think you can see, are either cracked or just completely open. Here's another one, just completely, you can see right through it. Some more. Either way, you can tell that this thing is just completely, basically fried as is. All the parts so far, including some of the other capacitors on the preamp board. So far, I think it was like $130. That's with shipping, and that's the total for, a lot of parts. So it should be a complete rebuild of this board pretty much. And then we're going to delve into the rest and figure out what else we got to do. So here we go. What we're going to do is going to go ahead and replace the power cable. Now, replace the power cable is very simple. It's usually 3 solder points, but getting to those 3 solder points usually are what poses a predicament. So normally, I just use some pliers here. You can get a nice tool from StuMac, or I'm sure many of other amp repair online places, but I just use some pliers on this stress relief cuff. You go ahead and just press it down completely. That releases the wire. You pull it out, and then you can pull this cable cuff off, and then you have 3 solder points. So you have one to the ground here, to the chassis. You have the negative polarity wire going to the fuse here, as you can kind of see, And then this positive wire goes right here to this turret board, which connects everything to those capacitors, the boards, and power transformer, things like that. So it's usually a fairly pretty quick repair, about 15-20 minutes. I'm going to remove this zip tie here and replace it once I'm done. But we're going to go ahead and get into that now. All right, guys, thanks very much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed the video. The Colleen I was referring to in the beginning of the video is Colleen of Fazio Electronics out in California. Check out her YouTube channel. It's absolutely fantastic. She was definitely the guiding light on this repair. Here is the Peavey Roadmaster all in its glory. I ended up getting the LEDs fixed, and now it works perfectly. Sounds excellent. I paired it with my 1992 BC Rich Ironbird, my 1960 B cab, and a Marshall Governor distortion pedal. Absolutely sounds great. Here's a video of me playing some heavy death metal. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.